Hello witches, welcome back to the channel once again. This is Hekate. So in today's video, I sort of just want to do an update, kind of an update on what I talked about in the last video, but also an oracle update on Goddess Hekate and sort of how I think it's interrelated. So I'm just going to get right into this video. First of all, thank you to everyone who reached out to me after I posted the last video. Everyone who commented below, who gave it a like, who contacted me on social media and messages, or who posted comments on the post I made in social media, or just reached out to me in any way. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me, and it really did help a lot. Just raising my spirits, but also I feel that it has helped magically as well. So thank you all so much for reaching out for me, for reaching out to me, for sending positive energy my way, love, casting spells for me. Just thank you all so much. It means so much to me, and it really has helped a lot. So I wanted to say that at the beginning of this. Now, getting into the Hekate update. If you all remember, I didn't even remember this until just actually today. But I did post a couple videos a while back, oracle updates. And I was talking about Goddess Hekate and the sort of spiritual war that's going on right now. Since her return from the underworld, she's sort of been putting all of these lesser entities and evil spirits in check, and sending them back to the underworld and different things like that to restore the balance to the spiritual atmosphere, the world soul of the earth. So in those past videos, I had talked about what the information that she had given me, that as time went on in this spiritual war that she's engaged with, these entities were going to get more and more violent and get more and more angry and start lashing out more and more, because their time is limited, and they're like wild animals being backed into a corner with the situation. So they're getting very aggressive and violent. So I talked about that in the last oracle videos. I don't know exactly which ones, but they're some of the most recent ones that I talked about this. And I think it was the ones where I was talking about the bus accidents. But in those videos and in the messages that Hekate was giving me, she did say that into this year, into the springtime, into the summer, would be when the spiritual war was reaching its peak. So this would be the time when the dark entities will be most aggressive and lashing out most often, and in particular to witches and to psychically sensitive people, people who bring a lot of joy, guidance, and love into the world, would be the prime targets of these entities. So there was another bus accident recently. However, I saw the news link to it. Even in the headline itself, it said miraculous, because every single student, every single child that was on that bus and their chaperones, they all survived. So you could probably find the news article. I might be able to find it again and just post it below in the description. But it was like this crazy guy just hijacked the bus with all these kids on it and was basically trying to kill them all. But he failed. So when I saw that, I felt sort of like that was a sign that these entities are weakening. So, and I took that also as a sign that Hekate was able to stop that entity before it accomplished what it was trying to do. Whereas in the past, other bus accidents and all those children dying, there were so many dark entities in the world still that it was harder to pinpoint each event. But as time has gone on, more and more of those evil entities are being sent to the underworld. So there's less and less. So that's like the positive side. But the negative side is the ones that are left remaining are getting more and more violent and aggressive because they are basically angry. And they know that their time is limited. So that's the downside. However, what I didn't realize until today, or put two and two together until today, I should say, was once again, after I made my last video, a lot of you guys reached out to me and said that you've been going through a lot too lately, and it doesn't just seem like a typical case of bad luck, but it seems like some sort of spiritual attack. But a lot of you guys were saying that you don't think necessarily that someone has hexed you, but that you're relating it to, or feeling that it is the spiritual attacks just coming from the spirit realm in general. So when you guys were saying that, it got me sort of thinking like maybe this is bigger than me. Maybe there is something going on, you know, just in the spiritual realm. But then today it clicked. Wait a minute, Hekate already warned about this happening a while back. So I just put that all together today. So that's the update for today for this oracle video. Definitely that's what's going on. These entities are getting angry. They're lashing out more and more and more. And it is horrible. And I'm so sorry that you guys are all going through some shit too. But at the same time, it almost excites me as well, because I know that that means that Hekate and her spiritual team are reaching the end of this spiritual war. And balance will be restored at the end of this. So I'm excited for that reason. But at the same time, it's like, you know, all of these attacks coming in. And, you know, that's the downside to all of this. Some other things I wanted to say in this video. I was going to start the video off sharing these, but I didn't. So I'm just going to say these now. But basically, I've been having a lot of weird dreams lately, which I also think are interconnected and related to this situation. But I also didn't realize that until today for some reason. So this one may not be connected per se, but I do just want to share it. So you all know that I've been working with fairies more and more, and I set up my fairy altar. I attracted the winter fae, and I've been working with them and building a relationship. So I've had that going on, and I ended up having a dream a while back, and I don't know why I'm putting this in this video, because it really is not connected, I don't think, but I just think it's interesting and maybe sort of connected. So I ended up dreaming, and I posted about this on Facebook a while back as well when it happened. But I ended up dreaming that I was a fairy, and I was basically going to the like royal court of the winter fairies, and I was one of them. And one interesting thing that I want to put in this video, they were all dark-skinned. I was one of them, and I was going to the fairy court, and I met the king of the fairies. And basically, it's like he was sending me and some other fairies on a mission to go and retrieve something that was stolen. It was like some artifact, or it was like a certain crystal or something. And it's very interesting because when I've been dreaming about fairies, and I've had other dreams besides this one, but they always seem to have some sort of super advanced technology, like so advanced that it is like magic, or maybe it just is magic that has similarities to technology. To me, as I've been analyzing and having these different dreams, it's almost like they have mixed technology and magic into one thing. Or maybe they've always done it that way. I don't know, but that's what I experience when I get these different visits and go on these different travels and encounter them. And so in this dream, the way it started off was there was like this big room, like huge cavernous room. It may have even been a giant cave. But in the middle of it, there was this circular machine type structure with like arcs of electricity running over the metal surface of it. It was white, and that was the room that I found myself in as one of the fairies. And it's like me and a group of other fairies were awakened in this room from a sleep, or a state of like what is the word? Cryogenics, like we were frozen or something in a state of stasis, and we were awakened, and we were all around this machine, this circular machine. And after that, it's like it rose up into the ceiling of this structure. And then we just immediately knew that we were awakened for a purpose and for a mission. So we just started walking to the place that was like the court of this royalty. And when we got there, the fairy king, or the king of the winter fair at least, set us on this mission. And we went to another room and we grabbed these tools. And it was like this small metal rod with a like fork-shaped tongue on the end, like two-pronged. And it was short, but whenever you would click a button or do, I don't know what it was, honestly, it was just like your intention, it would extend as these different segments coming out of it, and it was like a staff with those two prongs on the end, and it could like instantly freeze things or slowly emit like this freezing power of like ice. And those were like the weapons that we used, and we went out on this mission to go retrieve this crystal, like technological crystal or magical crystal that had a whole bunch of encoded information in it. So that was a crazy dream that I had involving the fairies. But I don't know, like I said, I don't know why I'm putting that in this video. I guess simply because it's fairies. But I don't feel like it was anything negative. I've never got any kind of negative evil vibes from the fairies that I'm working with my fairy altar, or anything with that. So I don't think that it's connected in that way or anything like that. And in this dream, I didn't get any negative vibes or anything at all either. But it was just something interesting that I wanted to share in this video. So the next dream, this one I actually did have more recently, like within the time that I think that there's been a hex on me. So this might be related to all of that. And I do think that it is related to that, and to also the spiritual war that's going on. I feel like when it comes to these dreams, or the ones I'm going to share, I feel like some of these entities are lashing out in the astral realm because they cannot get to me in this realm because of my protection, because of my wards and everything around my house and on myself. I feel like when I go into my dream state or on my travels, I'm like leaving out of the bounds of my protection spells. So some of these entities are coming and attacking me in that state, or just harassing me in that state. So I'm probably going to concoct some spells specifically to protect me when I'm in the astral realms and astral traveling and stuff like that. But that's beside the point. But I had these two dreams actually last night. So in the first dream, I don't even know where I was. I was like somewhere else, at someone else's house or something. And it was actually a friend of mine who's a witch that I don't talk to anymore. I was at her house, and she was like trying to tell me something about another friend of ours that had passed away in real life. And I don't know, like I didn't agree with her, but at the same time, you know, we are friends, so I didn't argue or anything either. But I just felt something was off with what she was requesting, or wanting and talking about. So I sort of just disagreed with her, and I decided that I was going to leave. And I had found this crystal. It was like a small crystal sphere. It was blue. Or was it purple? Yeah, it was like purple, like amethyst. But it was in a sphere shape. But on the sides of the sphere, like sort of in a square shape on the sides, there was different like carvings on it. But they stood out from the surface. And they were in the shape of 8 pointed stars. Like, I drew a picture of it here. It was like 8 pointed. I just forgot that the light was on in my blind, y'all. Okay, it was like 8 pointed stars within 8 pointed stars. So, I don't know where I got it from, but I just had it in the dream, and I was like holding it, messing with it, just sort of like fidgeting around with it, twirling it around in my fingers, just all throughout this dream. And it was so weird. Like I was unconsciously doing that throughout the entire whole dream, and all the conversations and everything that was going on. But at the certain point when I decided I was going to leave, it's like all of a sudden the dream got overrun by these elf entities. I was thinking of them as elves, and I've been calling them elves. I was calling them elves in the dream. Dark elves, I guess. I don't know, but basically they were like human sized. They had pointy ears. They all had like blonde hair that was like slicked back. Their skin was very, very pale, like deathly pale, bluish. And their eyes were all white, completely. As a matter of fact, I didn't even put this together, but that's interesting too. In the first dream that I talked about, the Winter Fae, when I was meeting them and all of that, they were all wearing like brown robes. Or like tan brown robes. That's so weird. In this dream, these elves were wearing those same kind of robes, like exactly. So that's very weird and interesting at the same time. But anyway, basically, these elves just like flooded into this girl's house and they were like coming after me. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? All of a sudden, they're just coming out of nowhere. And I had this crystal in my hand, and that's when I suddenly started paying more attention to it. So we like ran into another room, and we were okay for a while. And I was fidgeting with the crystal and just kind of twirling it in my hands like this. And the more as I was doing that and twisting it, it started to like unfold into a wand, or untwirl or unravel into a wand. It was still made out of amethyst crystal. I really don't know how to explain it. It's almost like it was one of those 3D puzzles that you would like have to mess around with to get it to open, like one of those puzzle boxes or something like that. But it was crystal, and it was the sphere shape with the 8-pointed stars all over it. And as you twisted it around, it like thinned out and elongated into a wand. It was so weird. But I basically did that. I figured it out, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then I just like rolled it back up into the sphere shape again. I don't know why I included that, but I just thought it was so weird. And I guess it has ties and similarities to the sort of advanced like magic / technology that these entities have, because it reminded me also of that scepter staff thing that could freeze people from the first dream that I had, or that I talked about. So that was interesting as well. But anyway, after I figured that out, these elf entities, once again, they found us in the house and they started coming after me again. So we ended up running into another room, shutting the door, and I was like, why did we come in here? I want to leave. I don't want to just come to different rooms. They're still here. Then at like immediately after I said that, the elf entities were like at the door trying to get in, and there was another door that led out of the house. So I went out that door and just started like escaping and leaving. Okay, I totally got this mixed up. There's like a huge section that I forgot to talk about. Okay, after I discovered the wand part, the elf entities came and they found us, and we didn't run away right away. Instead, they actually tried to talk to us. And they were talking to me and telling me that I was one of them, and I needed to basically follow them to, I don't know where. So at first I was like, okay, you know, I just unconsciously went along with it. So I started following them down through the house and into like this basement area. and down this corridor, and I started getting like uneasy and untrustworthy at this point, because I was like, okay, where the hell are they leading me? This is, something is off about this. So I pointed it out, and I was like, where are you taking me? It's like very dark down this corridor in the basement, almost like it was leading into like a cave area. And I was like, what is this place? Or where are you taking me? And I was like, it's dark. And since they were telling me that I was one of them, they were like, don't worry about it. We can see in the dark. And basically, yeah, that's what they told me. Like, don't worry, we can see in the dark. And they were telling me that I was one of them, so I was like, okay. But at the same time, I was still like untrustworthy of it, because at this point, it had just become so weird. So I did still follow them a little bit into this corridor, into this cave area. And then it became like completely dark. And I couldn't see anything. And I was like, y'all said that we could see in the dark. And that's where they're like, we can, but you can't. And they were like, we took special herbs that let us see in the dark. So at that point, I was like, okay, so they misled me down here. They tricked me, basically. Typical of the stories that you hear of like fairies and stuff. The bad ones that like, they trick you and they mislead you in ways like that. So basically at that point, I was like, fuck this. So that's when I took off, and that's when I ran away. So now we can get back to where I was in the story before I skip this section. So I got into that room. I was like, why did we still come into this room? I want to leave this entire house because they're in here. They came to the door. I went out the other door that led outside, and I started just escaping like out down the road from this girl's house. So as I was doing that, I ended up hearing this like scratching sound. And I was like, what is that now? And as I looked down the road the way that I was walking, I saw a black goat, or like ram. And it was like pawing at something in the street. So I was like, that's weird. But as I approached it, it ended up noticing me when I got pretty close to it. So it started walking away. And as it did so, it actually transformed into like a person, like a man, but with the black goat's head. And it was like walking away from me, and it like walked off into the woods or something, like off the street, out of my sight. And I was like, what the fuck, that was weird. So then I went to the spot where it was like pawing at something, and there was like a sign in the road that it was pawing at. And I picked it up and I read it, but I cannot remember what it said at this point. So like immediately when I woke up, I already forgot what it said on it. But there was like something written on this sign, and in the dream I was like, that is so weird that this is written on this. But now I just cannot remember what it said. So at that point, actually I think before all of this, when I first left out of the house, I had picked up a stick off the ground because I was still worried that the elves would come after me, and I was going to prepare to fight them. So I picked up like a long staff length stick, and I had broken, there were some branches on the top, and I broke them off, and it ended up looking like a staff with two prongs on the end. So that's another like prominent feature in these dreams, because it's also reminiscent of the first dream I mentioned, where there was that freezing staff thing that had two prongs on the end. But when I did it with the stick, it's like it had the two prongs, but it reminded me of a ram or a goat's head. So another thing I forgot to mention, or I said out of order, but that's what, when I first came out of the house. And then as I was walking down the street, saw this goat. It turned into like a human with a goat head, and then it like walked off. I saw the sign that said something very interesting that I cannot remember. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So I decided to sort of follow the direction where that goat went. And as I was doing that, what was it? I ended up going into the woods where that goat went. And there was, I don't know, it also felt like I was trying to be lured somewhere, because the way that it looked when it went on this path into the woods, it looked very like normal, like a normal like road or something going into the woods. You know, with like trees on either side or whatever, just like a normal road with woods on either side. It looked very like normal and okay, but when I started going down it, it suddenly like turned, the road turned into like this steep ravine that was like heavily, thickly wooded. And I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't follow this thing this way. This is not what I thought it was. So I stopped at that point and turned around, and I just decided I was going to leave. So after that occurred, I ended up actually, there was someone, like this guy was just on the path immediately behind me. And I was like unnerved by that, because there had not been anyone previously. And he had this very threatening, or like he was trying to block my path to leave. So it was sort of intimidating. But after that, I ended up just waking up. I think I woke myself up because I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck this? So, that was the end of that dream. Or, I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. That was the end of that one. So, you know, like I said, that I think that's partially why I ended up putting 2 and 2 together today, with the spiritual war thing that's going on, and then with this dream last night, and then with everything that you guys have been telling me, you know, thinking that this is something going on in the spiritual realm and that it's something bigger. I do think definitely that it is, you know, this spiritual war that's going on with Goddess Hekate and the evil entities and restoring balance and all of that. I think that they're definitely attacking a lot of us. Maybe not like, what is the word? I'm going to say it differently. For me, I don't necessarily think that they're causing much harm. Like, I do think that someone hexed me. I'm pretty sure that someone did. Pretty sure I know who it is. And it's no one on social media, because I know that there was a little bit of drama that got stirred when I posted my last video, and some haters try to take credit for hexing me. No, it is not any of those weak ass people who talk shit on social media, okay? It was someone that isn't even on social media, and an ex-student of mine. So I'm pretty sure that's who it was. That's who I had the dream warnings about prior to all of this happening. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that's who it was. And I'm pretty sure that there was a hex on me. So that's what I feel has been able to actually affect me. I think that these dark entities and these evil entities lashing out has only affected my dreams, as far as like the dreams that I had last night. They like try to fuck with me basically in my dreams and harass me in my dream state, but it's not really causing any harm in the end. For me, I don't know how it is for all of you, but I would hopefully think that all of your protection spells and things like that is protecting you from any of these entities causing any real harm to your lives. And if not, then I would definitely suggest that you up your protections. Just like I said in the last Oracle videos, anyone who is magical during this time, or anyone who is psychically sensitive during this time, definitely needs to up their protections. And I didn't even take my own advice when I posted those videos before, because I kept only doing my monthly protections during the waning moon. And that's really not enough, especially during this time. And so that's why I also wanted to include this as an Oracle update. I just once again want to emphasize that. Do your protections daily during this time period, especially if you are magical or psychically sensitive. Do your psychic and magical protections daily during this time, because especially now these entities are lashing out. Okay, so with that, that concludes this Oracle update. And let me know if you all have had any weird dreams where these entities are attacking you and stuff like that, or trying to attack you or anything, or lead you somewhere or mislead you somewhere into danger or something like that. And if you have had any encounters with fairies or anything like that, I would like to know that as well. Just because it's interesting to me. And I did read you guys' comments on the last video, so I definitely will be making some more videos for you all as far as certain spells and techniques that you can use for protection as well. So that will be coming up too. And that's going to be all for this video. Thank you for watching. And as always, I love you guys. Hail to the witches, hail Hekate, and blessed be.